Soul hole activated.
We are two best friends who happen to be psychic mediums.
We do readings, we teach, we mentor, and we love to laugh.
Yeah, and you know what? We love to cry too, because we're heartstring pulling leather truckers.
Warning, this is rated E for explicit, so if you don't like the word fuck, you should probably turn your ass around.
Turn it around. Don't look back, run. But if you're sticking around, it's time for another episode of I'm a Medium.
Ask me how.
Hey,
Matthew.
Dana.
Matthew.
Dana.
Matthew, we're back.
We're back. Another episode. New week, new us.
I know. It's weird. We're taping this in the middle of the week. It's the retrograde. We're holding on for dear life. But you know what?
Can we take a moment for this retrograde?
You know, I had actually thought about, like, do we mention the retrograde in this podcast? Because I like for these podcasts to be timeless, right?
They'll hear it on another Mercury retrograde because they see them every 2 fucking seconds, Dana Willey.
I know, they keep coming. This retrograde is extra special, though, and we do have to hold space that, you know, we're usually pretty good about getting these episodes out every Tuesday, and this one is kicking our collective asses. So
it's a doozy.
Let's hold space.
Hey, you know what's really funny is I can't tell whose Mercury retrograde has been worse.
I know. I mean, it's like, you don't want to, you know, you never want to compare your trauma. Your trauma is valid, you know?
Yeah, but yours just tops mine.
No,
and
it
then
doesn't.
Mine comes back and it's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, you got thousands taken out of your bank account. I'm in the ER. Don't worry.
It's good.
Mine's
You're
worse.
Fine. You're fine. You'll survive.
Yeah. Are you in the ER? Well, then shut up, because mine's worse.
Every 2 seconds. And then all your electronics have just been
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
no.
yeah. You and I literally tried to have a phone call before this, and it took about 15 minutes to get even on the phone to have the phone call, which was fun. Yeah.
I was watching another medium on live, and they were trying to read from their normal spot. They were like, I was like, oh.
It's so sad. But, you know, we're doing the best we can with what we got.
So you know how they name like they're like, oh, this is the full moon in Aries. You know what I mean? This is the tower card of Mercury retrogrades.
Yeah. This is the Uranus of, like, retrogrades. I don't know. This is if Uranus had 7 babies and I don't know. It's real bad. But, you know, I think we're coming out of it. Maybe, I don't know. I think we got another week. It's bad. But you know what keeps me sane through all of this? Even though it's been pretty ugly to you and me.
Yeah.
It's my friendship with you has kept me sane through all of this.
I was going to say something inappropriate, but I was like...
Well, what's kept you sane through all of this?
Art films.
Art films. Well, there's that too. But, you know, I haven't been able to watch art films either because my internet's been down. So there's that.
Well, you can just do what we did back in the old days in the 80s, or imagination.
Imagination.
Well, the community. Yeah, no, for sure. Let's go back to that, Dana Willey, because we need to talk about the community. Well, it's...
Is this where I feel bad that Logan is editing the podcast?
Well, he's got to learn it somewhere. At least it's not on the streets. When two people love each other.
Very much. They watch art films because they've been married too long.
Exactly. So let's talk about community now. We got to get on topic. We got to get on topic. Yeah, we do.
This isn't what the people signed up for on I'm a Medium, Ask Me How?
No,
Weird.
It's not. No. So, you know what's really funny is I actually started my journey on TikTok, a majority of my journey on TikTok. And I can't speak to the lonely road that you have had to travel that long and dusty road where it's been dry and all by yourself.
Stop talking about my vagina. We'll
But
cut
I
that
can
out.
cut it out. So yeah, I started my journey on TikTok, and I know that you didn't necessarily start on TikTok, and so community hasn't really kind of been a thing for most mediums that are pre-COVID, where especially on social media, where it's been you just do it by yourself and you sit in a metaphysical shop and you read, and maybe you make a friend here or there at another reader or whatnot, or you go to a development circle and you make a friend there. But one thing that I found has been really magical about social media and post COVID is the community. It's the community. And it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride, Dana Willey, with that community on social media. It's been wow.
Wahaha. There's goods and bads, right?
Mhm,
There's good and
mhm.
bad. I would say that for me, even though I had my comeuppance, I guess, if you would say it that way, before TikTok, community was a very important part of my development. And I think that it's something that we don't talk enough about because I think that it is a long dusty dirty road, when you're when you're going into this, because you feel very lonely and you feel like the weird one and you feel like you're the only one kind of going through this. And I know, at least I'm going to speak from my own experience, that's how I felt for the longest time. And I felt like I was just kind of navigating this on my own, and I don't feel like there was anybody else that got this or understood this. And
Mhm.
so for me, finding a development circle was like, that was like, oh, it did a couple of things. It was like, it validated that I wasn't making this stuff up, right? Because I had been telling myself that for years and years and years. You're making this up. You're making this up. You're making this up. This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. So I got the validation that I wasn't making it up. And then I sat around a group of people that were all like me on some level, right? And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm not weird. I mean, maybe I am a little weird, but I'm not weird. There's other people that are walking this same walk who have had the same struggles or similar struggles to me, and it just felt less lonely. And building some community and some, like, a safe place to go where maybe I felt weird, still felt a little out of place during my normal waking hours, but that once or twice a week that I went to a development
Mhm.
circle, I didn't feel weird. And so it was really nice to start to build that community. um, but there are some downfalls of the spiritual community as well.
Yeah. I just wanna loop back into what you said, because I think that, like, TV makes it seem like we're really rare, right? And I think, like, the only show that I've seen do a really good job about the community and the paranormal is, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna say it. That Psychic Kids Children of the Paranormal
Mhm.
show with Chip Coffey, where he, like, went around and, like, talked to the kids that were thing, because he kinda brought a little community together of support. Now, we all have different beliefs, but I figured, hey, that was like really rare and it never really happened. And that I went to a development circle and people were at different levels or they all believed something different. And I went into one that was like all encompassing, I guess you could say. It wasn't like a spiritualist development circle. So it was like you had somebody that was like talking to Loki on like
Mhm.
one end of it, and then you had somebody that was like spooky angels on
Well, but
another.
that's where I started. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
think we've actually ever talked about this. I didn't even know that there was a spiritualist thing.
Mm-mm.
Probably for, like, almost 2 years ago was the first time I ever heard about that.
I didn't know what a spiritualist church was. I thought it was like the Scientology church.
Mhm.
I thought it was like a branch of that. I didn't know. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that seems spooky."
And I didn't understand, like, the whole spiritualist thing. I just, because a lot of my development in development circles was just somebody that said, "This is mediumship," and it was more like an all-encompassing, like, "We're gonna do some psychic stuff, and we're gonna do all of this stuff." And there, like you said, maybe some people were talking to angels and some people were doing this, but it was just more of a community of, like, these were some things that you could try out and test out, um, and
Yeah.
feel less weird.
Yeah, I didn't feel that that one resonated with me, and there was nothing wrong with the person talking to Loki or the other person talking to angels, nothing wrong with it. It just didn't hit my heart.
Mhm.
I didn't find my truth in that, right? And then that lady, came up to me and was like, "Here's Janet Novak's circle. You go Tuesday. See you there." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay." And I went, and it was more my speed.
Mhm.
But it didn't really have, because that was an online thing, so I didn't really have a lot of exposure to other people, or like just one-on-one readings, you know what I mean? Like you don't really bond, but there was a few people that like I would read for them and they'd be like, "Oh wow, here." Like, "This is my social media, you should follow me."
Mhm.
But it would be really rare because you're just there to learn, on online, really,
Mhm.
on certain circles where it's just massive and there's like 70 people in a room. But then I started to get into other, online courses, and I realized it doesn't need to be that,
Mhm.
and it was nice. And it was nice
Mhm.
because I like learning with groups of people, but I also like that conversation you can have that makes you feel normal,
Mhm.
because you were like, "Yeah, you feel like an odd duck out, right?" No, you totally do. Because then you think all the shit that you're experiencing, you're going through by yourself, and then you start to feel crazy, and you're like, "Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm the weird kid."
Yeah.
And then you start to find the other weird kids, and you're like, "Okay, maybe I'm not so weird."
Yeah. I
Mhm,
like that you mentioned the question or being able to have conversation,
mhm.
because I think that's really important. And this isn't to toot our own home, but I'm going to do it a little bit. Um, I think
Beep,
that's
beep, bitch.
I think that's why I beep beep. I think that's why I like our question and answer portion of our development circle so much,
Mhm.
because I feel like it's a point for everybody to like have that moment of asking a question. And we always say there's no
Mhm.
stupid questions, right? Because guaranteed, if you're asking it, somebody's thought it, right? Or was
Yeah,
afraid to ask it. And it just makes somebody else feel less weird and less out of the loop. And you know, obviously Matt and I can answer from our experience, but we often get people's experience from the group helping to answer the question as well, because we all come from different life experience and different, we all are coming from different experience points in our own mediumship as well, right?
I agree, I agree, and I think that we have a theme in our circle that there are no stupid questions. Well, actually, there are stupid questions. You know what the stupid question is?
The one you didn't ask.
The one you didn't ask. And so, like, I think that if somebody else is gonna ask it, somebody else has either experienced or thought it, and I think leaving that open space for them to just breathe. I think it you just when you start to realize that you're not, you can breathe a little bit more and you're not so freaked out, because
Yeah.
fear is a big kink in mediumship, and I think when you're going through this alone and not knowing how to navigate it, you become fearful, right?
Hmm.
Not only fear of the unknown of the afterlife or the spirit world, but also fear of being ostracized. So then you're like, "Oh my god, this is great. This is great." So I'm glad that we do that. So I'm tooting that horn. I don't care.
Toot toot. Toot toot.
Mhm,
So, one thing, so we've talked about like why it's nice to have community, because it is. The other thing that, well, I'm going to go over a few more pros.
okay.
You are changing a lot as you develop,
Mhm.
and grow. We talk about personal development being as important as mediumship development. If you haven't heard that already in our podcast, well, welcome in. We're going to talk about that for a second. Your personal development is as important, if not more important, than your mediumship development. And you are going to change so much on a personal level that you need somebody to kind of do that with you, because sometimes the people in your life aren't going to know how to support you or deal with that. So having a community around you that understands that part of the process of development can be really, 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 really helpful, because they've walked in those shoes, they've been through that before. So having that support mechanism is also really important, I think.
I agree with you. And it's also we learn from each other.
Hmm.
I've learned a lot from you.
Oh, I've learned a
Just kind
lot
of,
from you.
yeah, like watching you read and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot from Megan and Michael and all the rest of them. And if
Yeah.
you don't know who they are, well, good luck, because you're going to find out. Um, that we even learned from our viewers, right? So this is a
I learn from
community
our
as well.
students all the time.
Hmm.
And so I think we're in this constant learning thing, but there's a caveat to that. And I was like talking about the pros of community, right? But there's a flip side of
Oh,
community.
oh
And
shit.
this is when you're having this rapid growth and
Hmm.
all of this stuff is going on and you are growing faster than somebody else, or comparison starts to happen. The ego starts to enter in and I've seen the ego enter into plenty of spiritual communities and blow it up, and it's
Yeah,
ugly
it
and
doesn't take much
gross.
either.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't take much. I'm going to speak from my personal experience on this because I was a huge hype man on TikTok. Where if I saw a good reader, I created yellow pages of psychics for them and I blew them up. Um, I had content creators reach out to me asking me them to be on it, and I didn't see them read and I haven't seen them do anything, and I said no, and they got mad at me, and then they went around to other people and were like, he's a horrible reader. And so like it can get ugly. It can get ugly really quick. And so I think one thing I've learned about that is keep your eyes on your paper, do your own thing, but just know that like community can be good and it can also be bad because it needs boundaries. I think there's boundaries that need to be had in a community. I think if I was to list my top 10, um, number one would be like treating people with kindness, dignity, and respect. Even if you're in the same field, it still needs to. I learned that we are hurt people helping people while we're healing while we're doing it. I've seen a lot of jealousy go
Mhm.
on in the community, like huge jealousy. Like you would think, Dana, that there would be a goddamn drought of dead people.
Oh, no. And by the way, there's not. There are plenty of dead people to talk to, y'all.
And you know what? Even if somebody books with me, that doesn't mean that as 100% guaranteed they're getting a reading because maybe I don't have the life experience that that other person does. I'm not the
And
medium for everybody.
and just because they get a reading from you, does that mean that that's they're ruined forever and that's you'll never they'll never book with another medium ever, 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 ever? And maybe it does. I don't know.
Or
But
or or maybe we're chapters, right? Maybe I only got a couple chapters of that person's life and you can unlock a couple more chapters and that person can unlock a couple more, right? Because we're only seeing a different side of each. What do you do? The canister, like this is my Schmaderade bottle. I have product placement. You like that? Like you see this side, I see this side, and this person sees this, and the viewer is actually seeing this, right?
mhm.
Doesn't mean that we're not getting the same thing. It's okay if you go book with me and then go book with somebody else. It's more spirit, more fun.
Yeah. There's not there's plenty to go around. It's not a
Mhm.
competition. And but our ego creates a competition. There's not lack. And what happens is our own insecurities start to creep in as we develop. And I
Yeah.
think that it's not I think it's our ego that says there's a competition or that there's lack, but we know on paper there's no lack, right? But what we see is we compare ourselves constantly, whether it's in a development circle or we see somebody reading online or whatever. I can't read like that, or they're way better than me, or I've seen it 1,000 times where two people enter into development at the same time, and one starts to excel faster than the other, and then all of a sudden it gets real weird or funky, and
Yeah.
it's like you can't celebrate somebody succeeding, and it feels yucky there. And so what we always try to tell people is, yes, keep your eyes on your own paper, but you are perfectly where you need to be in your journey, and they're
Mhm.
perfectly where they need to be on their journey. You don't know what's going on in their life and in their journey and how spirit is working with them for the people that they need to be talking to, and you need to be worried about how spirit is working with you to talk to who you need to talk to, right?
Yeah.
And we all are different people. Just as Matt just said, like we're all looking at different angles of a spirit. Matt and I often talk about our special spice. And if you've seen Matt and I read, we teach together, we read together often, but we're very different readers with a very different skill set.
Hmm.
Um, and that's beautiful. That's beautiful. We're each going to bring something very different to the table in a reading. And that's the way it should be. I don't want somebody to leave our space and be a cookie cutter Dana reader or a cookie cutter Matt reader. I want you to leave our space being a better you reader,
Yeah.
a better version of you.
I always say, like, I don't want to read like you. I don't
Mhm.
want to read like you. I want to read like me.
Mhm.
I don't want to read like Tyler Henry. I want to read like me. That doesn't mean that I can't learn something and utilize some skills, but that doesn't mean that I need to be a carbon copy of that person,
Right.
right?
And you can
Plus,
say like I like this part.
mhm,
Um always understanding that when you see a reader do something amazing, that's possible. If they can do it, it's possible for you too. But something that you and I often talk about is whenever we pedestalize somebody or we're like, oh, I'll never be able to do that, or there's that ego thing coming in, we undercut all of the work that that person had to do to get to that point.
you just took what I was about to say.
I'm sorry, Muffin.
It really no, it's true. It really discredits what the other person's working on. But you know what? Mediumship development is, and we said this a lot in our class. I'm going to say it on the podcast. I don't care. Is that 90% of mediumship development is about the personal development, not just the mechanics of mediumship. So when we look at somebody and we get jealous of their ability to read, we're not seeing the personal growth that it took to get there and the dedication it took to get there and the time spent to get there. Or maybe they had a huge unlock that week and you're only seeing that little glimmer of it, right? And I don't ever, I can tell you being on the receiving end of somebody's ego trip of saying, well, I've been doing this 20 years and I should be doing this and you shouldn't be doing this. You discredit what I bring to the table and what I worked on. Right. And so it's holding space for every single person's journey.
Mhm.
If you want that, work towards it, do it. No one's stopping you. But
Mhm.
just know that, like, I'm here to cheer you on. The better mediums that walk out there, the more representation for the general public, they're gonna get a great quality reading,
Mhm.
the better it is to bring more people into the spiritual, side of themselves, and they're closer to spirit. So, I think kinda going back to it is it's just keeping everybody engaged with each other and respecting each other's journey, keeping your eyes on your own paper and not just jumping the gun. And I think when we have triggers like that move us in that part of ourselves,
Mhm.
like looking at what caused that, of like
Yeah.
what is it inside ourselves that we can't be happy for somebody else.
Mhm. I think also understanding that sometimes people come into our lives for a reason or a season, right? And just
Mhm.
because somebody may come into our life at the beginning of our development journey or whatever part of it is of our journey, it doesn't mean they have to stay in our life. And I think I see that happen a lot, where people are like, well, they were my friend for this part, and so I have to keep them around. We can always love people from afar, and that goes, people, family members, friends from whatever. I think we change so quickly and so drastically through our mediumship development that I think it's important that we honor that when somebody isn't in resonance with who we are anymore. And that doesn't make them a bad person. We got to make
Mhm.
sure we're not judging them, but we also have to make sure that we're not changing ourselves to be with people that aren't in resonance with us anymore. And that can be development circles too. Like when we outgrow a space, it's totally okay to outgrow a space or a shop or creators or teachers or any of that. But also communities and friends. Like this just doesn't vibe with me anymore. I don't feel like I fit here anymore. That's okay. It's important, I think, as you are developing, that you listen more and more to that intuition and to what
Mhm.
is a hell yes. It's my saying. I'm going to have to trademark it. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And the people that we choose to spend our time around should always be a hell yes, right?
Mhm.
There's enough things that we have to do in this world. The people that we choose to spend time with should be a hell yes. So
I'm
when
putting that on your
people,
headstone. Just heads up.
okay,
Imagine walking up to Dana Willey's grave and it says, Dana Willey. If it's
it's
not a
like,
hell yes, it's a hell no.
listen, trademark.
Mhm.
It's fine. But honestly, like I want you to decide to be with people or decide to do things because it's a hell yes.
Mhm.
And if somebody is no longer a hell yes in your life, it's okay. It's okay. We can love them from afar. And it, like I said, it doesn't make them a bad person. It just
No.
doesn't make them right for right now anymore.
Well, that's what I love about my spiritual community because I came so late in the game. I say late in the game, like later in life, to mediumship. I grew fundamentally as a human person. That the people that were currently in my life, some people stayed and some people went.
Hmm.
And the people that came into my life, I don't want to say replaced. I don't like that word replaced. Filled a soul hole of being like, these are the quality people that were supposed to be in my life and how I was supposed to, you know what I mean? So I don't like to say replace because it's reason in the season, right? But they came in and were like, no, Matt, like I get you on such a level that you will never understand. I've been through what you've been through. And they just kind of help carry you through those tough times of people not understanding you in real time in
Yeah.
the real life non-mediumship world.
Well,
So
when
like
one door
yeah.
closes, another one opens. But can we decide on your tombstone that we're going to trademark soul hole?
This is my soul hole. Matthew Tapp, soul hole. Maybe that's the new Peaches,
Could be
soul hole.
soul
If you like
hole.
soul hole, just go in the comment section on YouTube and put soul hole. What do you fill your soul hole with? Is that the like fingerprint of love? Soul hole?
Yeah. Yeah. We're making soul hole the new fingerprint of love.
Fingerprint of love didn't last very long. The soul hole just
It was
came
1
right
week.
on and gobbled it up.
1 week. That's what a soul hole will do.
Where
It'll
did that
take
come
that
up?
fingerprint of love and it'll gobble that shit right up.
Soul hole. What is wrong with me? That's good. No, but it really is. It's like there's parts of your soul that just kind of connect with other people. And I think, especially if you're on this path, like I can't fucking stress it. My 85-year-old Catholic grandma just nailed that right on the head. One person I did not think that would just come through and give me a little gem to just file away in my soul hole Rolodex would be my grandma, of just saying that other mediums will get you, will fill your soul hole on a level that no other person will. And it really is true. I cannot stress that enough. Would you stop giggling about my soul hole, girl? My soul hole is so big, girl.
Your soul hole is sacred. Don't let
I,
just anybody enter in your soul hole.
I cleanse my soul hole every new moon.
Do you?
Yeah, I
Do
sage
you,
it.
do you sun your soul hole?
Yeah, it's like a soul hole enema.
Mm-hmm.
I just go in and I just clean it from the floor up.
Gotta let that soul hole glow.
I was thinking about getting a soul hole bleach.
Yeah. Then you know what would happen?
But
You would be the light of 100,000 soul holes.
Maybe it's a dark soul hole. I don't know what to say to soul, Dana. We're leaving all of this in. No.
So community.
So getting back to community, so there's a couple things that I want to add. There's a couple things I want to add to community. Would be don't I think understand that you can be a cheerleader for mediumship, right? But you gotta let people make their own mistakes. I think that what I've learned about the spiritual community is that we all practice different things. And I always like to say that mediumship is like being a doctor. You're not an actual doctor. Don't take my words and twist them. But each, like, if you look at doctors, like some doctors are specializing in the brain, and some specialize in feet, and some specialize in soul holes. But each one of them does a different thing, right? So I think that's a lot like mediumship, that we all specialize in different things. And so that does not make one doctor or practitioner better than another because they specialize in one area. And it doesn't need to be one certain way to do this. I think all roads lead to Rome, and that just because one person is a spiritual practitioner that has a religious practice incorporated into it does not mean that my mediumship with no spiritual practice into it makes it any better, because I'm choosing to remove myself from it, right? It's just like, because the client doesn't need to resonate with me, the general
Mhm.
public might resonate with that person a little bit more. And that was a really hard lesson to learn in a small
Mhm.
amount of time. In a small amount of time. So yeah. What did you have anything to fill that soul hole?
I mean, that this whole hole's getting full. I mean, how
Yeah.
big is this soul hole? No, I think that it's important to just stay focused on what feels right to you,
Yeah.
where you are right now, um, and not comparing yourself to anybody else.
Mhm.
Um, Comparison is the thief of joy, right? And we have to remember that you are exactly where you need to be, and that people are going to flow in and out of your life, not only in the spiritual community, but just in life in general. And I
Mhm.
think that as we continue to develop personally, it's as you are going to I'm going to say it. I've said it 1,000 times on this podcast, and I'll say it again. Mediumship has made me more authentically me than I've ever been in my life. And because I'm more authentically me, when something doesn't fit anymore in my life, it is so blaringly obvious now, where it wasn't before, because I was all masked up. I was being something for everybody else in my life. Now that I am so authentically me, when there is somebody or something in my life that doesn't fit anymore, it becomes so blaringly obvious and uncomfortable. I can't stand it. It makes me literally sick and uncomfortable. Honor that. Stop trying to make things fit in your life, or people in your life fit that don't fit in your life anymore. Move away from it. Stop paying attention to it. Don't give it your energy. Give energy to the things that bring you hope, that bring you light, that are hell yeses to your soul hole. Like whatever fills you up, right?
Yeah.
And let the things go that aren't. And that doesn't mean the things that you're letting go are bad things. They're just not for you. And I think that's, but to bring it full circle, understanding what community has done for me, I could not do this without my community. And I could
Mhm.
not do this without you and without some of the other amazing people that I've been able to meet and form amazing bonds with. But at the end of the day, it's me, and it's
Mhm.
staying true to me.
You know what? I'm gonna. You said something earlier, and it's just been sticking in my mind for a hot minute. Where it's like everyone comes in for a reason or a season. Everybody comes in for a reason. Doesn't need to have a season. And I think looking at the relationships that don't work and going, well, what did I learn? What was the purpose for it? What was the reason, and what did I take away from it? Even if it's a bad experience. Because
Mhm.
like, those examples I gave earlier about those other mediums, you know what I learned? I learned to be a little bit more protective and selective, and I also learned to hold space for other people's hurt,
Mhm.
right? Because if somebody's saying something to me that's more defensive, they're just hurt. And it's nothing that I did. I just triggered an emotion in them that I'm not aware of, and just hold space for it, but also lead through your work.
Mhm.
You know, your mediumships readings can raise the entire community up. So
Mhm.
just focus on yourself, but also make amazing connections, because you never know when you're going to need somebody, and never burn a bridge.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm,
And people
you should.
come back around. People can have their moments. People
Mhm.
can be going through their own shit, and they can have a moment where you're like, you're going to go through whatever you're going through. And when you're done going through that, I'll be over here. And then they can come back around. And we always want to give people grace for when they've figured something out, you know, if it's in resonance for us to have them back in our life. Right.
Yeah,
And I have so much grace for people. So
I'm learning.
if you have resonance for that, if it works for you, awesome, right? To bring them back in. But go with the flow of it. Just stay true to yourself, and it
Yeah.
should feed your soul. And your mediumship should feed your soul. You know, again, the more authentic you become and live your life, the more you're going to just want to do things because they are authentically you. And you're going to want to spend time with people that feed your soul and are authentically part of you.
I have a question for you. So just in the past year and a half,
Mhm.
what is your favorite memory of having a community that you were so blessed to be a part of?
Oh, God, I have a couple.
Okay, well, give me your top 2.
Okay. Well, first one was doing an event with you and Hannah and Cody and Kimmy, and
Mhm,
bonding through creating that event. Like the bonding that the 5 of us did together through that was incredible, like incredible.
mhm,
Um, I would say traveling with you has been so amazing, and meeting the people that we've gotten to meet. The bond that you and I have been able to create with Megan, um, and Michael has been really awesome. And that the time that we've been able to, the little bit of community that we've been able to build with them has been really cool.
mhm.
Um, like that was really awesome recently to do. So that would be it for me. How about you?
I would agree with everything you just said, except I'm gonna add one.
Okay.
I would say our listeners as well. I think getting to see how the community, because I think this podcast and our lives have brought a lot of cool people together,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing the friendships that they're making with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and getting to see the interaction and support and love that they show each other has been a
Mm-hmm.
really cool side effect of the community that we've built.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to add everything that you said plus that, because that's a joy. And they help each other out. You guys literally are like one of the best communities I've ever seen, just standing up and supporting each other and getting to know each other's names. And I saw somebody in my live a couple days ago going through a rough time. And today I was on live and they were like, "How's everything going? Are you okay? How's your mom?" And they
Aw.
don't know each other. But just the fact that they came in vulnerable to share that and they checked in on each other was just kind of cool. It's just being like, it's not about me, it's about you guys. I'll just sit here and enjoy and just read the chat and watch you guys talk.
Yeah.
my work's done.
Yeah.
Spirit cross.
La, 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 la.
But it's been really cool to watch that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Whether it's been that or the community that we've been able to build in development circles. And yeah,
Hmm.
no, I agree. I 100% agree.
Hmm. Can I give them a little advice though?
Mhm.
If you go into a group atmosphere, please make friends. because these friends are going to be with you for a real long time, and you get to meet some real cool people. Like one of my first mentors, she met one of her best friends in a spiritualist church,
Mhm.
and they've been friends for over 25 years, and they've been to each other's weddings and grandbabies being born and all that. I want that kind of friendship where it's just like ride or die, whatever you need. You don't have to always agree with each other, but like those are friendships. Those are
Mhm.
friendships. And they're not easy. Never burn a bridge. Be nice to each other. Hold space. If they're off, because look, this community can get a little hairy. A little
Mhm.
hairy. They go off the deep end. Just wait until they come back
Mhm.
because you never know. But always hold space, and when they come back, give them grace and
Yeah.
understand that they were just on a journey to learn, and just fill their soul hole.
Yeah. But, I think we've gotta fill our own soul hole before we fill somebody else's soul hole.
If you can't love your own soul hole, how can you love somebody else's?
Exactly.
That has to be the best line that's ever came out of our entire podcast. I just need to
That's the
say.
best line to ever come out of your soul hole.
No, I'm thinking of like titles for this episode. Well,
Oh,
Dana, I think we put the in community.
yes.
I almost said another word. I love you all. You're in our hearts.
And thank
Have
you
a
for
beautiful
being our
day.
community, and thank you for
Yeah,
all of your support. We adore and love you guys so much, and we hope that we gave you some good tips and tricks today, and on
made you
things to
giggle.
consider as you
Mhm.
move forward in building your communities, and friendships and all of that. And we'll leave you with a shoulder dance. And
Mhm.
you, Matthew Tao, I've
Yes, Dana.
already. You are the light of 100,000 soul holes.
Yeah, Dana. Well, you're the light of a taco hole. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Daniel Willie, will this fit in your soul hole?